All right, let's dive right into something that is literally changing the game for how developers build with AI. Google just dropped their newest Gemini lineup, and we're talking specifically about Gemini 3.6 Flash, 3.5 Flash-Lite, and 3.5 Flash Cyber. Now, this release isn't just about the models getting a tiny bit smarter, it's entirely focused on solving the massive bottlenecks we face when scaling agentic workflows. If you've been building AI agents, you absolutely know these pain points. So let's unpack exactly how Google is fixing them. Here's a quick look at our roadmap today. We'll start with the agent scaling problem, break down the three new models, 3.6 Flash, Flash-Lite, and Flash Cyber, and then wrap up with workload routing, pricing, and exactly how you can get access. Starting with Section 1, the agent scaling problem, or basically the cost of intelligence. Because here is the question keeping pretty much every AI developer up at night. How on earth do we scale token-heavy AI agents without completely breaking the bank? You see, agentic workflows, where AI is autonomously using tools and environments to complete these really complex tasks, they are just inherently token-intensive. They don't just spit out one answer and stop. They chew through tokens with iterative tool calls, constant feedback from the environment, and super verbose reasoning. Every single step an agent takes adds latency and costs money, which makes scaling massive, long-running systems incredibly expensive. So Google's answer to this massive scaling problem? Well, it's not just one giant, overly expensive model. Instead, they've built a highly targeted trio: Gemini 3.6 Flash, 3.5 Flash-Lite, and 3.5 Flash Cyber. This lineup is expressly designed to give you the efficiency, the low latency, and the reliability you actually need to make these massive agentic workflows economically viable. Moving to Section 2, 3.6 Flash. This is your new workhorse. It's smarter, and crucially, it's leaner. The most impactful metric to pay attention to right out of the gate is a 17% reduction in output tokens compared to the previous 3.5 Flash, which was measured by the Artificial Analysis Index. Now, why does that actually matter to you? Because it means 3.6 Flash takes fewer reasoning steps and fewer tool calls to get the exact same multi-step workflow done. It's doing less yapping and more working. And in an agent pipeline, a 17% reduction creates massive compounding cost savings and drops your latency across the board. But here is the best part. Using fewer tokens absolutely does not mean lower quality. Actually, take a look at the Deep Suite benchmark. This is a super rigorous test for real-world software engineering tasks. 3.6 Flash delivers a massive leap in coding precision here, jumping from a 37% pass rate all the way up to 49%. So it's generating higher quality, production-ready code with way fewer unwanted edits and false positive test failures. It is literally doing more heavy lifting, but with far less waste. All right, Section 3 brings us to Flash-Lite. Unmatched agentic throughput. This thing is an absolute speed demon. We are talking a staggering 350 output tokens per second. Just to put that into perspective for a second, that is roughly the equivalent of reading an entire page of a book in literally 1 second. When you're dealing with high-volume tasks, think stuff like massive document processing, translating thousands of receipts, or scaling agentic search, latency is your biggest enemy. Flash-Lite is specifically engineered to just tear through those tasks at completely unprecedented speeds. But Flash-Lite doesn't just run fast, it runs incredibly smart. Check out Terminal Bench 2.1, which measures these really complex terminal-based agent interactions. It jumps from a 31% success rate on the older model all the way up to 54%. In fact, across a bunch of agentic and coding evaluations, this lightweight model is actually outperforming the older Gemini 3 Flash. It is an incredibly capable option for any time massive throughput is just an absolute must for your workflow. Which brings us to Section 4, Flash, Cyber, Automated Security Patching. Think of this one as the ultimate security guard. So here is the reality we're in right now. AI models are getting so good at finding security vulnerabilities that they're spotting them faster than traditional systems or even human developers can patch them. To tackle this growing threat, Google rolled out 3.5 Flash Cyber. This model is fine-tuned specifically for cybersecurity. It powers an agent infrastructure called CodeMender, which actually orchestrates multiple 3.5 Flash Cyber agents to work together. They analyze repositories, validate vulnerabilities, and then actually patch the code at scale, delivering really competitive performance on the Frontier CyberGym benchmark. Now, there is a catch, and it's an important one. Because automated vulnerability detection and patching is so wildly powerful, it's considered a dual-use technology. There are obvious risks if this falls into the wrong hands. So Google is being highly intentional here. Right now, 3.5 Flash Cyber is strictly restricted to a limited access pilot program. This ensures frontline defenders and governments get a head start in securing systems long before vulnerabilities can be exploited in the wild. Okay, Section 5, Workload Routing and Pricing. Let's talk about actually optimizing your architecture. Looking at the numbers, 3.6 Flash has dropped its output cost down to $7.50 per 1 million tokens. That makes it so much more cost-effective for your core agentic reasoning. But then, look at 3.5 Flash-Lite, 30 cents for input and just $2.50 for output. That is an unbelievably cheap pathway from massive throughput. You basically have a premium reasoning engine on one side and an ultra-low-cost velocity engine on the other. Because of this price gap, your strategy starting today needs to be smart workload routing. Do not just use one model for everything. You want to route your complex multi-step reasoning, your ML research, and your high-precision code generation straight to 3.6 Flash. Then route all your high-volume, low-complexity tasks like massive document parsing or rapid agentic search queries over to 3.5 Flash-Lite. Mixing both of these models in your architecture is going to stop you from over-provisioning. It'll keep your latency super low, and it ensures your costs stay firmly under control. Finally, Section 6, Access Paths and Next Steps, because you can actually start building with this today. The really great news is that these tools are available right now. If you're a developer, you can jump straight into the Gemini API via Google AI Studio and Android Studio immediately. 3.6 Flash is also fully live in Google Anti-Gravity and the Gemini Enterprise Agent platform. And for everyday users, 3.5 Flash-Lite is already rolling out across Google Search to speed up those high-volume queries. You can literally start experimenting with these models and setting up that new routing logic today. Which leaves us with one final pretty provocative thought. While we are all busy integrating the awesome token efficiency of 3.6 Flash and the sheer throughput of Flash-Lite, Google has officially confirmed they've already started their most ambitious pre-training run yet for Gemini 4. The pace of this innovation is just relentless. So the question you have to ask yourself right now is this: how are you going to architect your AI agents today using these cost-effective routing strategies to ensure your systems are completely scalable and ready for the intelligence of tomorrow? Get out there, start building, and optimize those workflows.